Hey, what's up, everybody? This is an open discussion with C3 Films. My name is Chris, and this is.
Cheryl.
And today we're talking about a movie called The Shape of Water. So, spoiler alert: this is my first time seeing the movie. Cheryl's
Second
second or
time.
third or something. Second time, okay, seeing the movie. And yeah, let's go ahead and just get right into it. So, yeah, I mean, you recommended this movie to me. My roommate, I got her to watch it with me, and she didn't know what we were actually watching. She thought I said The Shape of Water. She thought that we were watching Lady in the Water,
Oh, very
which is why
different.
very different film. And after we started the film, and she was like, "Oh, wait a second, this isn't the M. Night Shyamalan movie." I was like, "No, this is Guillermo del Toro." And we both know how we feel about Guillermo del Toro. We love him, but we also know that he breaks hearts and makes people feel uncomfortable with like his scenes of violence. So we weren't. So immediately she was like, "Ee," and I was like, "You still want to watch this though, right?" She said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's cool. It's cool. No, this is fine. This is great." Uh, and at the end of it, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed
Yay!
the movie. I can't say that I'm surprised because I like Guillermo del Toro films, but this was a movie that I had heard certain things about, so I know there are people that like it. I know there are people that didn't feel that strongly towards it. Um, and like that doesn't mean I didn't have any problems with the movie. There are some things that like bothered me that I can get into later, but overall, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Cool. I'm glad you liked it because I really loved it. There were just so many things. I think I just kind of got lost into it. The first time I watched it, I definitely loved it way more than the second time I watched it. Maybe it's because I watched it in a theater and I was like on a date or whatever, but it was like
Mhm.
there was just so much where I was like, wow, this is so like it's just so good because like there's just so many little things that like I picked up on, and one of the things that I really loved about it was the color scheme and like how
Yeah.
everything was basically either green slash
Hmm.
teal or not, and it's like just some other muddy bland color except for there was like a little bit of red, and
Hmm.
I feel like the red was pretty subtle because it doesn't show up, but then like if you really pay attention, and the second time around because I knew about the color, um, I really paid attention to what other colors are there besides green. And I
Hmm.
noticed at the very beginning of the movie, they showed all of her shoes being like either black or dark or green, and then she like goes outside and she walks by the store with this shoe that is like ruby red, and
Hmm.
she's just like admiring it like she wanted it one day, but like it's not for her. And then like later on in the movie, like right after she frees the 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 fish man,
Abe
her
Sapien from
Ape
Hellboy.
Sapien,
Yeah.
yeah, same actor. She was wearing a red headband to work,
Oh.
and then like after that, like towards the end of the movie, she's her whole outfit is red. Her shoes are red. Like they show her walking down the street, and they actually like are just showing her feet walking, and she's wearing those red shoes. So,
Hmm.
I see you didn't pick up on it.
I didn't pick up on the red color. I picked up on the green and the teal. I mean, but that one I don't think is like really hidden. And upon thinking about it now, I'm like, I think it's interesting because the green and the teal colors, uh, give me the feeling of like ocean colors, like the feeling of like what it's like to be in the sea or something like that. And so that's why I thought that they were like really leaning into it. The thing that really impressed me, and I do remember seeing like the red shoes and stuff, but I guess I didn't realize that her color scheme changed near the end of the movie, and I'm not really sure what the red was supposed to represent in contrast to the green and the teals that they had. basically all over the rest of the parts of this movie, because those colors make sense to me as far as what it represents with the story and like the fish man and this oceanic like feeling, this feeling of being in the sea or being in water, or the theme of water in the movie and how it's all around us. um but yeah, but I don't know what the I'm not sure what the red represented. Like, what's your take on that?
I mean, I I I mean, red, I guess, is an obvious color for love. So,
Okay.
but I also think that it contrasts the teal very much because they kept it very muted. Like the color scheme throughout the movie, though yes, it had a lot of green and teal in it. It was still like there was so much of it that
Hmm.
it felt really monotonous color-wise throughout the film. So once
Right.
like, she gets that little pop of red in there, I feel like that is kind of following her development because that's when she starts to like break out of this timid um, woman who like can't speak and she finds a way to speak without words. So it
Oh wow.
yeah.
Right.
So she, I mean, yeah, she was signing and stuff, right? But
Hmm.
for the first time, like I think she felt like she was free. Like she could be who she is as a person, not um like I guess
Hmm.
hindered by her disability. Like she
Yeah.
could she could be her own person and she found someone that she could be that person with. So I feel like that was like a breakout. So that's why I think the color started to like change for her is to show the the progression of her development.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of like there's like the theme of language is like a really big theme in this movie, and communication and connection. And like, yeah, and that's one thing that's also very well handled. Well, I feel like one of the things that really pulled me in from the beginning of the movie was the way in which we were being fed the story. Like, first of all, seeing like you're talking about that monotony. Well, we kind of get the feeling of like the monotony of her everyday life, right? They show her doing all of these different tasks, um, which like if you're seeing it for the first time, you're like, okay, yeah, this is her day, whatever. Um, and then you realized that this is her every day, and they make sure they should because they show it to you again, and they show it to you in quick cuts, and it represents the monotony of her everyday life. And but one of the things that I found really interesting was how the mystery of the fish person was kind of how it kind of unraveled for us in the beginning, because we normally in like a movie we would see all perspectives, and we would see the perspective even if she was out of the room, we'd see like the perspective of the soldiers indoors and them having trouble chaining the thing up and putting it away and like the actual fight. But like we see this thing get in there and then they push them out and then we don't see it again. We see the detective, or I guess he's not a detective, the officer, paid by, oh gosh, forget this actor's name, but the guy that plays Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon. So we see Michael Shannon come into the bathroom and get a sense of his character, and then literally the next scene that we see him in, he's like standing in the middle and bleeding his hand out, and it's like it's crazy. You know something bad happened, and then they have to go in after and clean it, and there's just the blood everywhere. They find the fingers, and I really just that was like so intriguing to me. I was really enjoying the unraveling of like this story that's unfolding, but not necessarily from like an omnipotent, omniscient like point of view. Like it was just from her point of view and what she was seeing, and then we figured out later. And then as the story progressed, then it expands and we get to see like the Russian guide's point of view and stuff like that. But at least for the beginning, like that way of kind of telling the story really like brought me in and got me interested in seeing where the story was going to go.
Yeah, and I think like doing it that way helped a lot with like making sure that we could see the fishman um as a person as opposed to a thing or a monster. Because if we did get to see it in a different point of view, like because obviously um, the character Strickland was saying, like, they all clearly see it as a thing. They don't care if it lives or dies. They just see it as a science experiment. And to her, and being able to see it in her eyes, is just like being able to like tell us, like, yes, this is not like us, but it is like us. Like it's just like her. Like it can't speak. The only way it can communicate is by other means, and it can. So I guess it's kind of like putting non-human creatures on level with us in
Right.
a really special way. So I love that.
Yeah, and they also were obviously trying to show a type of connection between the fact that she she felt like she felt alone even though she had this friend that was, and I really liked their relationship and their dynamic and interactions with each other, but like the creature is chained up and also alone, and it's part of the reason why they're able to take to each other. And then of course she sees how he's mistreated and realizes that he's going to be put down and she has to get him out of there, and then thus is hatched one of the worst escape plans ever in the history of escape plans that somehow they managed to get away with because they're just lucky. And the people, and I thought it was so funny that the reason they get away with it is because the people in the, it almost reminded me like of Stranger Things or something, but the people that are in charge of like trying to capture this creature and everything are so sure that it's the Russians, and the Russians had like a attack team of like 10 people that were well trained that got in there, and it's basically their incompetence or expectation of how good their enemy must be is exactly what allows them to get by like under the radar without an issue, which is why exactly it brings me to one of my first pet peeves of the movie of if you just got away with something clean and no one suspects you, why are you testing this man? I get it. You won and you want him to know that you're just like, you know what? Screw you. You want to say that and like just get away with it because he can't understand what you're saying. But why would you risk it? They called you in there. They called you in there because they're like, hey, did you see anything? And you only got away with that because your friend was nice enough. It was Octavia Spencer. Like you got away with it because she whatchamacallit, checked you out. She checked you out. Otherwise, that would not have worked out for you. You have a good friend. She was looking out for you, but fine. So that worked out for you. It looks like you left. You were there. You weren't there after the incident. So, fine. But now that you've been called in the room and he asks you a question and it feels like you guys are home free, he makes some type of derogatory remark about the help, whatever, you've won. Why are you testing this man and making it and calling attention to yourself in this moment? Why are you doing this? I was so irritated in that moment. Walk out the room, give him the finger behind his like back or something, but move on. You've won. Do not risk this. It's one of the first things that pissed me off. But anyway,
We're
I still
raising
love
the
the movie.
stakes here. I mean, I get it. I get why, like, because I was freaking out too, and I was like, oh my god, like, just leave, just like, you got away with it, just take it and go. But then, like, see, that's when she was wearing the red headband.
She's rebelling.
She was getting that confidence. Like, that was the moment when she like grew as a person, where she was like, you know what? I can do whatever I want, so I'm gonna. That was like the
Yeah.
mode she was in. So shut up, Chris.
What's also like great? Not taking 2 slugs in the chest. That's also great. That feels amazing. Like I love not being shot, even if I like maybe can't die, or the reason that I'm like doing so well is because I'm actually in rain and that helps my healing abilities. That's great. Not getting shot is amazing. So everything we can do that will result in me not getting shot, I would love if we could do that. Which is also why point number 2 of my anger, beautiful scene, you know what, fine, romantic scene, I get it. Not practical. Not practical when you are hiding from government agents that want to find and murder you. Why are you flooding your own room so that you can like have this nice little underwater moment with this creature, knowing that if anything goes wrong underneath or whatever, people get called, anything can happen where somebody for whatever reason can show up and now they know that this thing is with you. It was a beautiful scene. It was really nice. It was very well done, but like realistically did not make sense to me because
Yeah.
you are calling attention to yourself when you are trying to hide, and the whole thing about it is people actually actively do want to kill you. It's not like it's basically like ET. You are hiding something that the government wants to either capture or kill, but in this case you know that they actually want to kill it. That was the whole point, and you only got out of there because randomly these two other people that you didn't even know were on your side showed up to help you at the last minute. That's the only reason you get out. So you barely got out. So why are you doing this thing where you are risking these people? Oh my gosh. And now we go to the Russian man who through that movie was like seemed like the smartest person out of everybody. And like even when his people came in and to his house and things are seeming a little tense and he's ready to fight. He's got the knife behind his back. He knows he's ready. Why all of a sudden then when they call you and they tell you to go to this like secluded area by yourself because you're being extracted, do you not at least entertain the thought that they might be wanting to kill you, especially when the guy expressly said you might be misremembering things after you told them the story of what happened? And then he basically allows himself to get shot. And I get it. This is the plot stuff that allows the story to move forward. But these were the things that kind of took me out of it because they did not seem like they were smart things for people to do who weren't criminals and were worried about getting caught.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that part either, about like why he didn't just like leave and go into
Mm-hmm.
hiding, because like he also got scot-free. So that part definitely didn't make sense to me. But it did also, I guess I kind of also questioned like why didn't Strickland get or find Eliza suspicious? Because he did feel like, or at least they made us feel like he was suspicious of her, but then he
Mm-hmm.
went to Octavia Spencer's character's place instead and like questioned her. But I guess that was so that we could see Brewster, her husband, and and
True.
and that that dynamic there. But it was weird that he went to her first and not
For
to
first.
Eliza, because
That's a very good
she
point.
was the suspicious one. So um, but I think it was just kind of a so that we can visit these people, or like so that we can have the endings for the people that are important, like the characters that are important. Like the scientist needed to die. Well, I guess
Mm-hmm.
he didn't need to die, but he needed to be
It
there
made
so
sense.
that he could tell Strickland who actually kidnapped or like smuggled the fishman out. And then I guess also, yeah, I'm not really sure why we had to meet her husband besides the fact that she talked about him a lot.
Yeah, I especially because he does feel like a character that comes out of nowhere, and maybe it would be
It
different
was
if we had
funny.
met him.
Maybe it was a comical thing because it was really she was really funny. I thought it was funny.
Her husband is not funny. Her husband is a punk.
No, I
Her
mean
husband is
I
a
thought
punk.
it was funny
Oh,
the way that she talks about him and like talks
oh,
to him,
yes, fair.
and her character in
It,
general is just really funny.
yeah. I mean, like all cards on the table. I feel like that depiction of that relationship was a little stereotypical for me, um, but and a little too on the nose. But yes, I do get it. It's not like these relationships don't exist and they haven't existed, so that's fine. But the issue with the husband, I think, is that he is such a piece of crap that the way that she talks about him throughout the movie, even like jokingly, seems to do him more justice than he deserves. And I feel like if we met him earlier, or if she even, and I might be missing something or not forgetting, or me forgetting something, but even if like she made comments about how he's like a wuss or he's a terrible guy, but she stays with him and she can't understand why, but that's who she loves, whatever, then in that moment when this dude, because you got to remember, this is still during racism. This is still during racism. And this white man comes into the house and is immediately putting his hands on your wife, and you're just sitting there. That is odd, because this is in height of racism. Like, this man would be ready for a fight, really. Like, even if he's not going to do anything, he's going to be tense and ready for a fight. Especially because this guy is like coming in and putting his hands on his wife. That aside, the fact that he is just so ready to throw his wife under the bus is like, so I mean, I guess that speaks to that dude's character, but it feels out of nowhere to me that he's this much of a jerk. Like, I felt like I wasn't ready for it based off of all the stories that we heard, because he is this much of a jerk, to the point where he's not getting up to even answer the door, despite the fact that his wife is cooking dinner for him. He's not going to try to cover for her because he loves her so much. He's ready to throw her and this other woman under the table, despite the fact that he knows that she and them are friends, and despite the fact that he knows that this white man could still do something to both of them after having found out that his wife was involved in the thing that she's being accused of. Like, there's just so many things where I'm just like, this guy is such a awful character, and I'm not saying he's awfully written, but he's just an awful human, that I feel like I needed something to prepare me for that, because it feels like it's so out of like nowhere in this moment, and almost feels like it exists only to move the plot along.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's exactly what it was, because if you really think about it, her having a husband isn't really necessary at all, and I think the only reason why it's there is, like you said, to move the story along. But then again, I also feel like they didn't need it at all, because they already led us to believe that he was suspicious of Eliza. So, I think, like, yeah, I
Fair
guess
enough.
it was kind of thrown in because she talked a lot about her husband before, like in the early part of the movie. So it made sense to me why they would bring him in. But she also
Yeah,
didn't need to be talking about him. If she didn't talk about him at all, then that scene could have been just like not there. So.
true. Yeah, true. But I mean, all that being said, and then being in that scene, one of the last major things where I was kind of like, this doesn't seem too smart, is that from Strickland, I guess is Michael Shannon's character's name, where after he gets the information he needs, why doesn't he take Octavia Spencer's character with him, or at least like arrest her or something, because he knows that he has to know she's going to call the girl to warn her that he's coming. Like, it doesn't actually make sense why he wouldn't try to at least take her with, especially because up until this point, he's proved that he's willing to do whatever it takes to get there. So, like, there's no way he doesn't at least suspect, especially since this woman has been covering for her all this time, that the moment that he leaves the house, that phone call is not going to get made. That felt a little weird to me.
I mean, that didn't. I don't know if I would think to take her with me either. First of all, like, I don't think he's a government official. Like, I don't think he has the power to arrest her, because he's just some guy that,
Is he
like.
though? Because he has a gun, so he works for and he's worried about losing a job, like from a
Yeah, but
military officer. So he is somebody
I think he is a guy who is working for a company that is for hire by the government.
for
So
sure.
I
But
don't.
he also just killed two men in the scene right before that.
Right, but I
With
don't. So do you think he should have just killed her?
no, I mean, well, maybe, but like, I feel like if you already have killed two people, because he also didn't have any reason to kill those two people. He could, well, the reason he killed them was because they would have killed the guy that he needed the information from. But the point is, he had no problem
I
killing
mean,
two
they were
people.
Russian, so I think that in that time, uh, that it would have. I mean, they look like Russian spies. I don't know. Like that.
Yeah, I
That
mean
to me,
they're
like that part made sense to me. I don't think it would have boded well for us as viewers if he killed Octavia Spencer and her husband. I
yeah. I mean,
don't.
and I don't think he needed to kill them, but I do think that he would have at least taken Octavia Spencer
But that would
like
have
either
slowed.
hostage or something.
But one, I think that would have slowed him down. I don't think he would have thought about like, oh, I better take her with me so she doesn't make a phone call. Like, I would rather
I
shoot her and like kill her than.
I mean, and maybe that's also fair because he also is shown to be. That's the other thing. He is shown to not necessarily be the most racially conscious individual. He says things
Right.
like that's weird for you people, right?
Yeah.
And like he makes references like he's not exactly a nice guy, even with what like the advances he makes on the main character herself. So like I guess yeah, fine. He didn't take her with him or kill them or something. But my point is that he seems like the type of character that if he knows that there's a chance that you will stand in his way of getting to his goal, he's going to do something. So when he gets to the house and no one's there, I'm like, you have no right to be surprised. You have
I
literally no right to be surprised.
I guess my thinking is like as soon as he found out that it was Eliza, like
Mm-hmm.
he just went straight
Just go.
there.
He's
Like
like,
I
oh my
need to
god, of
get there
course.
now. Yeah, like so I I feel like
And
what
even
was
then,
churning in his head was just like, "Oh
mm-hmm.
my god, I see it now. Like everything is making sense to me now. Like I need to get there ASAP." Not like, "Oh, I better grab a friend or whatever and like take care of that." It's just kind of like, "Oh,
Right,
I got to go there now, like pronto."
right. But then that
That would be my priority. Is just like gotta go.
right, but I guess that brings up a new the biggest thing of if you just get rid of that scene altogether and he just goes straight to Eliza, that's the thing that actually makes the most sense story wise anyway. Because
That's
that brings up
true.
the question, like you were saying, like why would he suspect her character as opposed to suspecting Eliza when he's been suspecting Eliza this entire time? Why wouldn't he go to her first as opposed to the other person? So
They would have
yeah,
needed to like find some other way to rewrite it so that it gives Eliza a chance to get to the harbor.
escape.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So we can understand why it's written the way it is. But it is something that like called attention to itself, at least for me, and at least in this case of him not going straight to her house, it seems like it did for you in that way. Um, but all that the criticisms aside, like, and those are just moments. I liked the characters. I liked the Russian scientist. I liked his character. I didn't want him to die, but I wasn't like so beat up when he did die. It made sense. But I liked his character. I liked her neighbor. I liked their relationship. I liked how they would tap dance together, and that was one of the cutest scenes in the whole movie where they're sitting on the couch and they tap dance and they knock feet, and it's great. It's like him trying to get in there and help them escape when he's not good at this. The him going to the diner because of there's a guy there he likes, but then he finds out the guy that he likes is actually a racist and actually doesn't seem like he's too keen on even like
Homosexuality.
and yeah, exactly. So and then how that breaks him, but at the same time it allows him to realize that, Eliza means so much to him and he's going to do whatever he can for her because that's one of the only people he has in his life that really cares about him. So like, and then the ending's a beautiful ending. It's a storybook ending. And basically this
It
movie
was
is a fairy tale.
satisfying.
Yeah.
It was very
So
satisfying. I did want to point out from starting with the whole bathroom scene when first of all I was dying at the line when Octavia Spencer's like, "We have some of the greatest minds here, and they can't, and they don't know how to pee." And then Strickland
good
walks
one.
in, and he uses the like he washes his hands first, and then he
Mhm.
uses the bathroom, and then he doesn't wash his hands. And when I saw that like the first time, I was like, "Ew." And then it's funny because a little bit of karma. He loses his fingers,
Yeah.
and then I mean, they get reattached, but they start to decay because it didn't like the surgery didn't really work out.
Oh, so
Um,
gross.
right. But I think the most satisfying part was when at the very end of the movie, his he gets his throat sliced. So it's like, well, look who can't talk now.
So like some of those just desserts,
Right?
you know, because
So
he even realized he's like, oh my god, you are a god. Yeah, shut up.
it's just so satisfying. Like Karma's a really, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
sure
Karma's the
got
thing.
him.
Karma's a thing. It
Yeah,
happens,
Karma's
and
a thing that he got a piece of. So
hmm no, it's great. What's funny is that that scene. I hadn't seen the movie, but I had heard about that scene in the bathroom because someone told me that they also were impressed by that scene, but for a different reason. Because they like it makes sense to them. Because if you think about it, you know where like let's say assuming you take a shower and stuff in the morning and you're clean when you start the day, you know where your junk is, you know what's happening with that all day, but your hands touch a lot of different things. So actually it does make sense to wash your hands before you go in and touch, some of the most like sensitive areas of your body because you don't know where your hands have been. So they were like, actually that makes a lot of sense because as far as you know, as
it
far as you're
does.
concerned, you're clean. So, but your
Especially in
hands
this
aren't.
during this time, this day and age,
Right?
yes.
You
I've been
you
washing my
better
hands
be
all the
washing your
time.
hands. So it's like, but yes, but then I was like, well, why wouldn't you wash your hands after too, though, just in case you? I guess because he was standing like this, and just and so technically he didn't touch it, so like fine, but still, I'm like, I think you should wash your hands twice, but washing your hands before does actually make sense to me, and I will not fight anyone on that
That I didn't
at
have a
all.
problem with. I just thought it was funny that he washed his hands before and not after.
Yes, I think that is funny too, and it's also a way to like kind of just show who his character is.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Like,
that was such
yeah,
a great way to show his kind of person. So
hmm yeah. I kind of almost wish they didn't like call attention to it. They just let him do it and let you as the audience just be like, wait, did he just? But he didn't. Okay.
not okay. It was not okay. I was so grossed out. No, thank
Oh man.
you.
Well, is there anything else that you wanted to run up on time here? But so, is there anything else that you wanted to mention? I basically said everything I wanted to say about the movie. I really enjoyed it, so thank you for recommending it.
Yeah, I think I pointed out all the big things for me. So yeah, it's a good show. I'm
All
glad you
right.
liked it. I really I'm sad that you found so many things wrong with it, and that's what we mostly talked about. But it is what it is. It's hard to find a perfect movie. So
It it is, and it comes down to if the what little things come up that you feel that take you out of it or make you go, huh? And those were just the things that made me go, huh? But I understand why they exist. I understand like the nature of the story, so I don't mean to make it sound like these things are enough to make it so that the movie just doesn't make sense. It's a great movie. It's a beautiful movie, and in many ways, the movie actually felt less like a less like a movie and more like a play. I felt like I was watching, especially when they did those like that transition where it went into the musical and it went black and white. Like I felt like I was sitting in a theater, even though I'm at home, but sitting in a theater watching a play and that was being made into a movie instead of just strictly watching a movie, especially with the attention, as much attention as there was to color and things like that. And I
yeah.
think that's one of the things I really like coming from a theater background before I ever entered into film. It was one of the things that I really did like and appreciate about the film.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, story aside, the film itself was just very beautiful. Like the way it was shot and designed, and even just like it's almost like a world in itself. Like it's
Mm.
Earth. It's like a time period, but they don't say when. It's just the way that it's designed puts you in a world like in itself that is kind of not quite you know time appropriate. It's not
Mhm.
exact, but it's like it's its own thing. It gets to be its own thing because it was crafted that way, and I I really thought it was just really pretty. It's just a really
Absolutely.
pretty movie.
For the gamers out there, it gave similar. It gave Bioshock vibes, is what my roommate was saying when she was watching the movie. If you guys know what that game series is, but yeah, absolutely, I agree 100%, Cheryl. So, but we're gonna go ahead and cut it there. Have you guys seen the movie? What did you think about it? Did you like it? Did the things that bother me bother you? Did they not bother you at all? And I'm just being too nitpicky. Whatever you thought, comment below. Let us know what you thought. And while you're down there, if you give us a like, share, and subscribe. But even if you don't, though, thank you for chilling with us. I've been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and we'll see you guys next time.